I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and reflection.
Good morning. Good morning.
What difference at this point does it make?
Deutsche Nation in einer stolzen Selbsteinschätzung.
Either you love freedom and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy.
But we will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the TCD podcast. Very exciting because we've got the lads, the crew, the Lunchbox Legends. It's been a long day. Together again at last. To my direct left, that's geographically, not politically, Sexual Chocolate for Prasad. Thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
Good, how you been? Haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, you know, same old stuff.
Same old stuff.
The grind.
The grind.
Yeah.
The grind. Sounds interesting. Do you grind often?
As often as I can.
Miley Cyrus fan, are you? Or?
Oh, massive Miley Cyrus fan.
Massive Miley Cyrus fan.
I twerk when she twerks.
Do you really?
I put her on TV and I try to learn.
You try to learn.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be difficult when we're watching Miley Cyrus. And to my right, politically and geographically, the voice of reason, Adam J. How are we, sir?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Not too bad. Can we just turn you up a little bit there?
Yeah, a little bit if you want. Yeah.
You've got this habit of speaking really quietly unless we're talking about Russia. So let me
Okay.
let me pump the volume on that sucker. There you go. Thanks everyone for joining us on Periscope. Pardon me.
Oh.
Yeah. So we've got plenty to get through. It's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks. Just a couple of quick topics off the hand. We didn't get a chance to talk about the same-sex marriage vote.
Oh.
Yep, that was done, dusted. So apparently a lot of people, the grind or the grinder, says Tamara. Thanks for joining us, Tamara, by the way. You're still up. A little shout out to our American brothers and sisters. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you thank the turkey or whatever it is you do on that strange holiday.
Yeah.
So
Hope you drink till you pass out, I guess.
Drink till you pass out, yes. Hope you went over to the friends or the families and had arguments.
Well, I heard, and this is just through the grapevine,
yes,
but I've heard that Trump has ruined Thanksgiving for everyone now.
That was an article that came out today, wasn't it? Like,
is that true, Americans?
Politico, I think. How Trump ruined Thanksgiving. They never miss an opportunity, do they?
Cool.
You got to tip your hat to them sometimes. It's like it's just the audacity. When you think they can't get any more brazen and any more audacious, they just kick it up another notch.
They never miss a chance.
Never miss a chance. Yep. Never miss an opportunity. So, congrats to Politico there for some top quality journalism. The turkey was... Oh, sorry, I missed that. The turkey was thanked, I think. So
Sufficiently thanked.
Sufficiently thanked. There you go.
Turkey's not easy. I mean, turkey's not easy.
It's a big
to get
bird,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a big bird. What's the biggest thing you've ever cooked, Adam J?
Biggest thing I've ever cooked? Well, probably whole pig.
Whole pig?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
Was that here
Back in the
or-
motherland.
Back in the motherland,
Yeah.
yeah. I was going to say, it'd be like delicacy, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, you know, pork knuckles and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
know the crowds love that shit.
How did you cook it? That's key.
Boiled.
You boiled a pig. That's a big fucking pot, if you don't mind me saying. Was it all in one piece, in one
No.
pot? I was going to say.
Chopped up. Yeah, no, it wasn't, you know, the head wasn't hanging out of the side.
It'd
Boiled
just
pig.
be in a bathtub, wouldn't it? Just keep bringing in more kettles.
Well, it's very
Fill the
Eastern
kettle.
European, isn't it? I mean, they boil a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you got to boil the water before you drink it over there.
You pretty much boil everything, don't you?
Yeah.
You boil the cabbage and then you wring it out and put it in the kettle to make tea. They love their cabbage over there. Should we kick in the show? We'll kick off with a bit of Australian news first. Is there anything else we wanted to just get out of the way before we can focus on more important issues?
Well, we're going to go to same-sex marriage, or is this where we're going now?
No, I'm kind of over it. The same-sex marriage thing.
Well, you know, voted yes, and off we go.
The only whole pig I've seen cooked was in a pit in the ground. That sounds like a hungy to me.
Yeah.
That's an islander thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
Pacific Island. So, anyway, all right, let's kick it off. First up, lads, Queensland goes for an election tomorrow, state election. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, something I've pontificated on a bit, and I'm going to get your thoughts on this, is this, you know, the Trump effect, the Brexit effect, you know, the rise of Marine Le Pen in France. We had the recent election in Austria, where that's kind of now going to be like a centre-right, quote-unquote, far-right coalition that's now going to take, you know, I know you're laughing at it, it's far-right. Geert Wilders, And something I've been talking about for a while, listeners to this show will know, like this theory of bipartisan nationalism, and that the old two-party system has become sort of a duopoly of sorts, and it has shifted to collectively to the left. Like the Liberals are no longer on the right, basically, on the old spectrum traditionally. So there has to be like a kind of new nationalist-focused energy, political energy, that are people who are abandoned by the hard left progressives who have taken over the centre left party, and abandoned by the conservatives who have been taken over by the more sort of neoliberals and taken hold of the Conservative Party. So you've got this whole sort of subsection of people with nowhere to go. And, this probably manifests in a number of ways in a party called One Nation, led by Pauline Hanson. So just got this little article here from Sky News, guys. Labor leads ahead of Queensland election poll. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk, which you'll tell us the real pronunciation of that, right?
Anastasia Palaszczuk.
Palaszczuk, yeah, but see, she says Palaszczuk because it's got more cachet. It's got more pizzazz. It's got more snap.
It's more, latte.
It's less woggy, I think. I think that's the way
It's
it's
horrible.
going. Ms. Palaszczuk, who led the ALP to minority government at the 2015 election against the divisive Campbell Newman, said it was now up to the people of Queensland after 27 days of campaigning. Just before we open up the floor on that one, I just thought I'd play this quick little 1-minute clip from Mark Latham, former leader of the Labor Party, talking with Pauline Hanson, the leader of One Nation, about what's coming up in the upcoming election.
Tonight on Mark Latham's Outsiders, there's a fascinating interview with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson about what's happening with the Queensland election this Saturday. Is it the end of the two-party system, a major shake-up of Queensland electoral politics with ramifications for the entire Australian political scene? Here's a little extract from what Pauline Hanson had to say.
We've got mums and dads, pensioners who are lighting candles for electricity. Is that what Queensland want? I don't think so. And the word out in the street, and I'm hearing all the time, they are fed up. They've had a gutful of the major political parties, their same old rhetoric, the same old lies. We're going to do this, going to do that. They do absolutely nothing. Governments have been bringing in legislation that's taken away the rights of the parents over their children. And we've got to stop that. We've become such a nanny state. There's reverse racism in this country, and I'm sick and tired of hearing it. Now, where's the media? Where's everyone clamping down on them? You won't see or hear from them. There is this agenda to actually destroy the cultural background of who is an Australian.
Now, Mark Latham's Outsiders on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We're by subscription now. We've got to cover our costs, but there's a really good package available. If you click on the link below, become a premium member, you get all...
Yep, premium member. Gotcha. So what I'm thinking there is, did you guys notice that like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 talking points that we've heard before? And we know we've heard them before because, I mean, it's still fresh, isn't it? And we're still hearing them like day to day to day to day. Is Pauline Hanson... Is this a winning formula? She's not going to win government, but she could take, her polls are up to like 18%. And last time the election rolled around, I think they were at 1%.
Yeah, but back in the day, they were actually higher when she first burst onto the scene.
Back in 96, you mean?
Yeah, in 96, yeah. There were, I don't think they were as high as 18%. But
no, I think maybe 11 was the ceiling back then.
Yeah, so this has kind of happened before, not to this, not this scale, but...
I think it's more focused now, if anything. It's become more visceral, and she's got a bit of cred now because a lot of the things that she was talking about in the late 90s that she got that 11% vote on, and that was a federal vote, by the way. This is Queensland. This is the base for One Nation to an extent.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the people that say, you're just a silly racist, conspiracy theorist and stuff, a lot of those things have come to pass in recent times. So that gets you credibility in the long run, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, if you've got the two major parties completely ignoring their electorate, I mean, as we saw in the gay vote, Labor completely ignored their traditional base, because...
in Western Sydney.
In Western Sydney, traditional base for Labor were pretty much immigrants, an immigrant community. Immigrant community was the biggest no vote out of the entire nation.
Correct.
So Labor ignored them. Liberals have, traditionally conservative in Australia. They completely ignored conservative traditions.
Yep.
So, I think there's incremental steps that Pauline Hanson and even Australian Conservatives can take. I think the future looks kind of bright for them.
Yeah?
Well, a lot brighter than it did before. I mean, they're not going to win government, like I said,
No.
like you said. But, I mean, these are all incremental steps. Yeah, and what's happening in the world, what we see happening in the world, it's all kind of filtering down into Australia slowly.
Yeah, as I remember, I think it was the WA election where everyone came out beforehand and predicted like a big showing for One Nation, and you'll remember they were kind of like embarrassed.
It was a letdown, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, are we in danger here of? Is this the same kind of build up is this the media? Is there now? Hear me out here. Just put it on the table. Is there an argument here that the media will like build it up beforehand and say, oh, the polls, they're going to be a huge player like they did in WA, and then it just kind of peters out to a dribble and everyone goes, oh, well, see, the voters never really believed you in the first place, you know?
It could be, but remember, sometimes voters act in weird ways. Sometimes, you know, they might get how are these polls conducted? You know, you get a phone call from a newspaper or polling agency, and sometimes, you know, the voter sends a message. Doesn't mean they're going to vote for that party.
Sure.
They just, you know, okay, I'm going to say that I'm going to vote for One Nation. Doesn't mean they will.
Yeah.
But they just want to send a message to the two main political parties. And maybe that's what happened in WA.
Yeah.
Like, I take your point, but, you know, sometimes voters have been known to do that.
Yeah, so sometimes you get called up and you know what, I'm really angry, but when you're alone in that booth and you've got that pencil in your hand and you're like, you just say you've been voting Labor for the last 35 years, and you're like, you just can't bring yourself to tick the box kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
you're getting at. Yep.
And you know, I think they will get a substantial amount of the vote, but you know, we'll have to see
what effect it can have. I'm interested to.
I think Australia's a slow burner. Just a butt in here.
Yeah,
like
go.
they're just. I think that the Australian electorate is just feeling it out a little bit.
Definitely.
All right, if a party like One Nation gets 18% or 20% of the vote, what's going to happen?
Yep.
And then there might, you know, more people might start voting for a party like One Nation.
Sure.
I think the problem is that a lot of people are sold on a lot of the ideas that Pauline Hanson talks about, but they're not sold on her.
Well,
so
that's
it's a personality problem.
The personality, I mean, even, you know,
that's
one thing that strikes me is, you know, she goes, oh, you know, people are lighting candles for electricity. No, people are lighting candles for light. I mean, you know, if you light a candle, you know.
We get the gerbil running on the little tray and, you know, in the little wheel. This will fire it up. This will fire up the oven.
And for some people, that kind of strikes, you know, it's like, oh, you know, oh, what are you talking about type thing. Like, she's still a little bit raw.
Yeah, sure.
So...
No, I think that's a problem. Like, I think that's essentially One Nation's problem. Gam, thanks for joining us. Gam said, look at America's polls, they completely missed the result, yes. To that, I would say it's probably a bit different. Our polling system's a little bit different, and ours do tend to be a little bit more accurate.
More predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a smaller population, small control group. I mean, what is it like? Even in our national elections, it's what, like 15 million or 14 million eligible to vote? Something thereabouts. So, you know, that's almost like, what is that, like LA? That's one city. So, you know, so.
Yeah, but I mean, even the Brexit polls.
Yep.
I mean, England's supposed to have a lot more accurate polls than America as well, and those polls are completely wrong.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And it was a complete reversal, wasn't it? Because it was like 52 leave, 48.
Yeah, 48, and it was exactly that the other way around.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can talk about the same-sex marriage polls.
Yes.
You know, we've seen those polls be pretty consistent for a few years.
Well, I don't know. I'd push back on that because I saw a lot of like 75, 80%, and I don't think that was going to happen.
But it was clear. So a lot of people, you know, maybe, you know, didn't vote at all. Or they're like, oh, this is a shoo-in.
Yep.
You know, so maybe that scraped off 10% or 5% or something like that. But, you know, it's been pretty consistent. Can
I rewind the tape a bit? Go back to your point about Pauline Hanson. I've always felt like, and, you know, this isn't a critique of her personality at all.
She is who she is.
She is who she is. And, you know what, that probably gets a certain amount of traction. But I always think that with Hanson at the top of One Nation, which is kind of like the populist party, for want of a better term, it's always going to have a cap on it because, you know, for all of her positive traits, she's not a particularly good saleswoman. And, you know, because, and I think that was the key that unlocked. Now, like him or loathe him, say Nigel Farage, right? He's a very good speaker, very good salesman, very confident, front foot, knows how to attack an issue, right? Donald Trump, confident speaker, very front foot, long time in public life, knows how to attack an issue.
Knows how to sell.
Knows how to sell. Of course, it's his mantra, isn't it?
See?
Pauline Hanson, she's like from humble beginnings. She used to run a fish and chip shop. You know, she was a senator for the Liberal Party. It didn't quite work out. She perhaps has things to say, but doesn't say it the right way. Mm-hmm. And again, that's not a crit, because I don't necessarily think that not being able to, you know, speak with gifted tongue is like some kind of bad personality trait. I actually loathe when people are like, you know, how dare you, you know, we shouldn't be listening to this person. They speak so ineloquently, you know. I'm like, God, stop being such a wanker. Like, don't be so foppish about it. Normal people can have opinions too, you know, just because it's not sort of buttered up and silky.
Yeah, but can normal people run a country? Or, you know...
Sure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, but a lot of politics is selling the message, isn't it?
Yeah,
and so that's why I think it's always going to have a cap on it.
Well, isn't it? It's not even just the things that she says or the way she says it, but it's... I mean, you listen to her voice sometimes and she's cornered. Yep. Her voice starts whimpering, like wavering a little bit, you know. So it takes the synapses aren't firing fast enough. As like say Nigel Farage, when you see him talking in the European Parliament, I mean that guy is on point.
Yeah,
you know, he's got everyone eating out of the palm of his hand.
Well, it's like laser guided, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, so maybe, if anything, maybe it's time for a new leadership in One Nation. You know, and
well, they need to diversify their leadership because she is the party. And what they need to do is have, like, you know, each state have its own sort of structure and stuff. They don't have that yet because it's a small operation, really.
Can you name one other...
Malcolm Roberts?
Yeah, Malcolm Roberts. He's been in the news a few times.
Yeah, because he had to leave federal parliament. Now he's running in Queensland in a state election. So,
really? Oh.
Yeah, because of the dual citizenship thing.
Yeah, that's a bad look for One Nation.
Yeah.
And anyone else?
No.
Maybe some of the senators... You know, people that are more in the know or that follow Australian politics a bit more could name a few senators, but that's
sure. And that's the problem.
That's it.
That's the problem because you know the MAGA movement or whatever you want to call it, the Trump movement, it really doesn't really depend on Trump that much at all. Like Trump is the one that got them.
Right place, right time.
Exactly. You know, and all the things come together, but it's, you know, it's not all about Trump, is it, really?
Oh, no. I mean, Trump's a pawn.
It's a collection of, you know, frustrations and ideas and demands and, you know, he's like the salesman. He's the tip. But
Trump is like a product of the movement rather than the other way around. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't started the movement. The movement was already there.
Correct.
And he's the product. I mean, they needed a seismic shift, and that's why they put on front a leader that will do that. He will say all the right things, but all those right things are the wrong things because it's a complete shake-up to the system.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we needed because it was so solidified that we just needed a sledgehammer to smash it open first. The next leader can come in and put it all back together eloquently or with grace or with, you know, whatever you want to use.
Yep.
Yeah, we needed a sales guy, really.
Yeah.
They got one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, well, let's move on to someone who's probably a little bit of a better salesman, and it gives me a chance to hit this.
All right, everything's gonna be all right.
Classic tune.
Alt-right.
David Leyonhjelm, ladies and gentlemen, leader of the Libertarian in the Australian Parliament. This is in the Sydney Morning Herald, a quite infamous lefty rag that's going broke in Sydney. Used to be a great paper. Used to be about 10, 20 years ago.
They try to be fair.
It's
and then it's just fallen off. Yeah.
Well, it's. I think you can get them, and it's like 30 pages now, like because they've sacked half of their workers. But anyway, that's by the by. Headline: David Leyonhjelm to host disgraced alt-right figure Milo Yiannopoulos at Parliament House. He's going to take him to the Capitol building. See, David Leyonhjelm, I think, has got definite potential. Like he crosses a lot of boundaries too, but we can get to that in a minute. Disgraced alt-right figure Milo Yiannopoulos will speak at Australia's Parliament House next month at the invitation of Libertarian Senator David Leyonhjelm. Milo Yiannopoulos, whose fraternisation with American white nationalists... Oh, hang on, we've got white nationalists there. We'll have to hit this. There you go. Was exposed last month by BuzzFeed, has been disavowed by large swathes of the US right following multiple scandals, gentlemen. Earlier this year, the 33-year-old lost his job with the right-wing publisher Breitbart. Now, that's fake news, because didn't he resign?
Yeah, he resigned.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But like, it was under pressure, though, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. But he did resign, so you can't say lost his job.
Yeah.
If he's the one who lost it.
Well, Manafort, I mean, didn't he resign?
Yeah, well, there you go.
I mean, it's a pretty grey area.
It's subjective. And his book contract was ripped up after he appeared to condone pedophilia in some circumstances by arguing boys as young as 13 could consent. But Senator Lionhelm, who also courts publicity with deliberately controversial missives, see, this is the thing that gets me most about these kinds of papers. Like, that's just a clear, like, it's a slight. It's like an elitist, jabby kind of, wanky little slight. He courts controversy, with his dismissive and elite, it's just complete, to hate to use the word, minimization of someone who's probably one of the most intelligent and reasonable politicians, especially over the last 10 years, because they've been a circus.
Yeah, absolutely.
He actually makes arguments for a change.
Yeah, he does.
Imagine that. It's not just rhetoric.
He's probably the most well-rounded politician if I could use that term, in Australian politics.
Definitely.
I mean, he's got his head screwed on straight.
Yep.
I mean,
that's why they attack him.
Yeah.
He does say some outrageous things as well. I mean, what was it with the
cops are bastards?
With the cops are bastards, and that was after a soccer game.
Yeah. Well, he said if you don't want to get roughed up by the police, then stop acting like a jerk or something. Or they'd, some cops are bastards, and we just have to. Accept that
well, he said that that it was the football team supporter group said that that they have a term, all cops are bastards, and
ACAB,
ACAB, and he's not surprised that they have that term.
Yes, he supports flares, I think.
Anyway,
there was one because there's a by-election in a Sydney seat called Bennelong, ladies and gentlemen, and the guy who was holding that seat is a guy named John Alexander, the former tennis player, J.A. Tennis player, tennis commentator, and he was once a referee on a show called Gladiators, and the Americans know Gladiators because they had Gladiators as well. That's where we ripped it off from.
Yeah, that's right.
And he apparently made like a crude rape joke or something on the set of Gladiators. And David Lyon, and he had to come out and say, oh, "I'm sorry, I know, because the election's in 2 weeks. I'm ashamed of myself." He had to throw himself on the sword of political correctness just to appease the papers, to get him
jump on the rack, stretch me out.
Yeah, and David Lionhelm, though, to his credit, the base libertarian wasted no time, and he was straight on Twitter, and he's like, the only saving grace for this kind of soft cockery is that it was mildly funny. like the joke was mildly funny. That's the only saving grace.
Weren't the 90s great?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember.
I can't remember
rape jokes. I mean, were they happening? I don't know.
No, I mean, if you've got to trawl back 20 years or 30 years to get to the rape joke, then it couldn't have been that bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, we survived.
Yeah, exactly. So, just carrying on here with David Lionhelm, just switching between the screens. He described Yiannopoulos as a thought-provoking commentator, author of the New York Times bestseller Dangerous, and self-described cultural libertarian, and part of BuzzFeed's expose. Yeah. His relationship with former boss Steve Bannon has also reportedly soured. That's why he's quit.
Apparently there was some leaks, some emails or something like that showed, apparently, I haven't looked into it myself, that showed some links between Breitbart.com and alt-right groups.
Alt-right groups.
Yeah. And there's a guy, I know his surname, Mercer.
Yep.
That owns or partly owns Breitbart.com.
Yes.
Are they the Mercer family you're talking about?
I think family,
I think they're the biggest donators to the Republican Party.
Yeah,
well, to Trump they are.
Yeah, it's to Trump, and apparently
big
after
supporters of Bannon, actually.
They are.
Yeah, well, that's the thing
Bannon.
that he.
Well, they're friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that he pulled funding from Breitbart, or he's selling his share of Breitbart.com.
Really?
Yeah, he is, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. Now, I don't know. The Mercer family is a big family, so I don't know if that's the details on that. But apparently, it did happen.
If anyone
allegedly,
if anyone can fill us in on that sort of goss, Tamara, I'm looking in your direction. You're normally on top of this sort of thing.
That's strange. I mean,
anything to add
is
to
Steve
that?
Bannon still at Breitbart though?
Of course.
Yeah, he went back.
And I mean, the first place that Steve Bannon went after he left the Trump administration was to the Mercer family. So I thought it would have been the other way around. That they would have been.
But he went, didn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he go with Gawker to sort of get some funding to shore up for candidates like your Roy Moore, for example? In Alabama.
Oh boy, Roy.
Old boy, Roy. So, I think that was his reason for going to the Mercers, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I just, it's just, I find it...
No, well, apparently this Mercer fellow publicly wrote a letter, and you can access the letter. Maybe you can do a quick search.
Okay,
on it.
yeah.
fair enough.
All right, bring it up. Keep talking while I type it up. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Milo.
Oh wait, just before we change, I nearly forgot the Sarah Hanson Young Award. We're going to play the Green Senator.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
I know, because I'm loving playing all these old clips again, all these old sound bites. So
Not that we want to see an overall.
there she is, the Greens
Why should
Senator.
our system?
It needs to be fair.
That it should be fair. Well, we think it needs to be fair.
And the reason I'm playing the Sarah Hanson Young Award because she's winning her own award for political stupidity. Where is she?
Is this about the letter that she wrote to David Lionhelm?
Yes.
Opposing.
She said, quote, "It astounds me that a member of our parliament would roll out the red carpet to a white supremacist and a pedophilia apologist." Sarah Hanson Young.
Projection.
Yeah. In reply, Senator Lionhelm emailed all parliamentary staff telling Senator Hanson Young to, quote, "get over it, and Milo has the same right to speak as you. It's not compulsory for you to listen or agree." See, that's why they hate him.
Yeah,
That kind of common sense just cuts right through the bullshit, I think.
That's
you
it.
know?
Yep.
Yeah, but they call
What are you
him-
so afraid of?
They call Milo white supremacist, but I mean, far-right groups hate him.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Like Daily Stormer hate him.
Yeah, the
You know,
old
he's a
right hate
Jew.
him.
He's a Jew.
He's-
so-
exactly. Oh, D-Crow, thanks for joining us. D-Crow's on the line. Good to see
No,
you.
and Milo's really big on the First Amendment.
Yes.
And that's something that, Nazis, alt-right, or whatever you want to call them, just absolutely despise.
Yeah, well, this is an argument I have often with people who try to say that, you're a Nazi and stuff. And I'm like, the first thing the Nazis do is get rid of free speech. What the hell are you talking about, man? Like, do your homework. Come on, the World
Basics.
War... Yeah, World War II is like the most... The rise of Nazism in World War II is like the most studied conflict in all of human history. How can you still be fucking it up, you know?
Yeah, that's it. I mean...
How can you still be getting this shit wrong?
You just walk out in 1930s Berlin and just, start saying, maybe we shouldn't be doing this to the Jews. I mean...
With your hammer and sickle flag.
Yeah, that's it. You get rounded up and,
I'll tell you how they get shit wrong. They've recently called Charles Manson a member of the far right,
Oh, wait, how did that happen?
Yeah, he's now... this was New York Times saying Charles Manson was nothing but a far right and advocate. I mean, the guy wasn't he a subscriber to the Gaia theory of the Earth? I mean, he was a hardcore environmentalist. He thought, people... the population had to be chopped down
Satanist, D-Crow says.
To save the Earth.
Yep.
And these are all left-wing ideas,
Yeah, he wanted to kill like 90% of the population or believe that they should be killed and...
To save the Earth.
Inside thoughts, outside thoughts.
Well, doesn't matter now.
Yeah, but this is how
where he
ideas
belongs.
get changed over decades.
Yeah, they get reframed, don't they?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Oh, hey, we'll fix that. I'll fix that up. So you can figure it out. There's just a little...
Minor microphone accident here.
Yeah, that's all right. We're still breathing. You guys are actually you're gonna go see Milo, aren't you, everyone?
Yeah.
So are you expecting a big ride out the front? Are you gonna take do you have a MAGA shirt or a MAGA hat?
I've got a
handy,
Pepe
or?
Trump t-shirt that
A
I'm going to
Pepe
wear.
Trump?
Yes.
That'll get him rocking and rolling.
Oh, I can't wait.
Do it up nice and tight, ads.
It's tight.
That's tight. There you go.
Oh, wait, don't worry.
Seamless.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Milo.
Oh, you're going too, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Are you going to take videos or Periscope from the event?
I'll definitely take videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try
Yeah,
that.
Maybe
I'll-
YouTube them up. Or even maybe we can play them on our next broadcast after the Milo.
No, I don't know if I'm going to be there with my phone, like taking a periscope. I don't know. It's
You don't
just
know?
not me.
That's a bit too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
You detach from the moment.
Yeah, it might be in the foyer, back in skulls. I'm joking.
See, I think the reason that they go so hard on Milo, and I'm sure he's probably said it himself, is the kids just aren't digging left wing politics as much as they used to. And I think if you're a smart progressive, you can recognise that. And I'm not sure that they have any other option but to go back to the stuff that's worked for the last 30 years because that's all they've had to do. Like, he's a white supremacist, he's a Nazi,
He's an individual,
Yeah.
and that's cancer for the left.
Scary.
They can't. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
I
And
mean,
the only way to attack them is to attack the identity. Not attack the ideas.
Yep.
They won't say nothing about their ideas. It's just, okay, he was a pedophile. he said a pedophile comment last year, or, someone made a rape joke 20 years ago.
Yep.
And that automatically in their head completely discounts all the ideas. It's a very lazy approach. They don't have to engage in the argument.
Yeah, people
it's
are
just
seeing
easy.
through it.
Yeah, people are seeing through it now.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Anything to add before we move on? Go overseas?
Let's go overseas.
Let's go overseas. Let's head to Germany. There we go. Cujo says at some point they've got to be like, wow, we're serious hypocrites and we have no arguments. I don't think that point will ever come.
No.
Like every time
They're blinded to that
every
fact.
time I think we've reached peak progressivism, like the next day, it just gets worse.
Oh, it's just a one-way valve.
It just never ends.
They never fail to impress.
Where is the end point? Just out of, do we have any theories, Ads? Do you have a theory like, can there be an end? Or is it just going to get to the point where we're like, okay, we just have to stop listening now?
Oh, yeah, I've stopped listening a long time ago.
Sure,
like,
I know, but I'm thinking like generally.
Well, let's remember it's all about power and control. I mean, they'll have to make adjustments, they'll have to change, and they'll start flipping shit, to be, quite frank, on the front foot. I mean, we can see this with, I'm sure we get to Trump later on, and maybe a bit of Roy Moore.
We are.
But that's what's happening. They're trying to flip it, trying to flip the script.
We can't ever stop listening. If you stop listening, you're going to lose the war.
Yeah.
We got to keep a firm grip on it, on what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. Got to keep an eye on your enemy, right?
That's right.
Okay, so Germany, lads.
Stalemate there.
Yeah, you wanted to speak about this. I'll just give you a couple of lines from this article and then we can take it from there. From the Independent, so it's going to be good, right?
It's going to be independent.
It's going to be good. Germany's far-right AFD said it is ready to take advantage of political stalemate. Germany's traditional parties risk handing further gains to the country's resurgent far-right movement if they see, like, it's just the Nazis coming back. Yeah, I'm just so sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. It's just like, what's the saying? It's an inch deep and a mile wide thought. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, the resurgent far-right movement, if they cannot find a way out of the current political crisis, gentlemen. Weeks of coalition talks collapsed in spectacular fashion on Sunday when the Liberal Free Democrats, do you love the way they name their little parties?
Yeah. They're all Democrats.
The Free Democrats.
The Free Democrats, the Social Democrats.
Well, it isn't it?
The Social Union.
Yeah, it is like the People's Democratic Republic of North Korea and shit, isn't it? Like, so let's not kid ourselves. The Free Democrats walked out of negotiations with Angela Merkel's Conservative Alliance and the Greens.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a red flag, isn't it?
Absolutely. She's going to have to form a government with the Greens?
They say it's a Conservative alliance with the Greens. Please. And possibly paving the way for fresh elections. There are fears a new vote would play into the hands of the far-right Alternative for Deutschland. Because, see, that's the other thing too. Whenever there's a story about German politics, all they care about is, we better not do this, and we better not report that, and we better not suggest this because that's going to help those Nazis, Right. There's no inward reflection there whatsoever. It's not like, maybe we should address our policies, maybe we should challenge our shortcomings, maybe we should improve. It's like, no. Let's suppress everything and let's try to manufacture some kind of conservative alliance with the Greens because otherwise the Nazis are going to win, We can't have that. So, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Varun?
Yeah, well, look, there's a very good chance there'll be a snap election in early 2018. There's, like you've said, there's a big stalemate in the Bundestag. Look, I think they saw this coming. They knew this was going to come because, I think the Alternative Party for Deutschland, they won 13% of the votes.
Yeah,
I think it was 30. I think it was 13%.
They got 89 seats or thereabouts straight off the bat from zero.
Merkel's party, the Christian Democrats.
Yep.
They only won a measly 33%.
Yep.
So you can see that everything already was on shaky ground, and now
I think she took something like a 20% slice out of her main vote, which is huge.
It's massive. Huge. I mean, look, Germany's never seen this post, the World War II era.
Correct.
They've never seen anything like this. So, look, it's shaky ground. There's a lot of differences between the Free Democrats and her party. I think they had They had disagreements on immigration control.
Yep.
The Greens now. I mean, if she's going to form a party with the Greens, that's just ridiculous.
Hasn't she?
Can you believe that? I mean, and they have. I think they're having disagreements on coal-fired energy and environmentalism. There's all kinds of problems going on.
Well, the disagreements start with Germany's massive budget surplus.
Mm.
I mean, Germany.
How much should we spend on the migrants?
Well, there's,
all of it.
There's so much money to spend that all these big government parties are. I mean. Getting weak at the knees, basically, because
it's a good problem to have, though, isn't it?
It's a fantastic problem to have, and I mean that's a bit of a problem for them. Like they got a 30 billion euro surplus that they've announced. Now insiders say that it's double that.
Could be $1 trillion sitting in Swiss banks too.
60 billion euro surplus, huge. I mean these are massive surpluses.
Yep.
And
in a time when it's massive because everybody else is in debt.
Yeah, well, Germany's
relative wealth.
Germany's exporting to the rest of the EU, and she's making a shitload of fucking cash from it.
Cujo says, as the EU is collapsing, disaster for Germany. That's a good point. Maybe they need to put that money away to keep propping up the EU project.
Yeah, well, Germany's dependent on the EU, like the EU is dependent on Germany. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yep.
Well,
and I wouldn't say the EU is collapsing. Like that's a bit of a overstatement.
Well, I did use the qualifier maybe. I'm very sneaky like that. I always make sure to cover my ass. So.
Yeah. With the hyperbole.
A little bit of hyperbole there.
Soften the hyperbole. But yeah, look, this is a big danger for Macron as well, because he relies on Merkel. And
that was a comment on the Periscope just before. Macron's flailing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I see that there's a problem because there's a lot of opposition to Macron within the coalition about what Macron's doing, because Macron's a bit of a funny character.
Nobody knows what he is, what he does, what he wants.
Yeah, he's a bit of a funny character, and there is that tension between Germany and France, and there always has been. Historical fact.
Well, I think Macron wanted to exclude in some countries like Poland from the decision-making processes, especially when it comes to the collective EU budget and obviously immigration as well. And a lot of those ideas that he's put forth, he relies on Merkel and what happens in Germany. Sure. So for him to see this kind of volatility, because let's face it, I mean the APD is it APD?
AFD.
AFD, sorry. The AFD, I mean they want this election in 2018, right? Because they're going to get bigger vote.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Now I think is it Martin Schulz who's the leader of not the Free Democrats, is it the Free Democrats? Martin Schulz?
The SPD or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he wants
Socialist Party.
Yeah, he wants an election as well. He welcomes the election. He doesn't want to form government.
Is that the full Communist Party? Because I know the Communist Party got like 8-9%.
Did it really?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
So I mean, it kind of puts the AFD as well. The result for the AFD in
perspective. Yeah, but the problem is you never hear about the Communist Party.
Oh, yeah. Do you know why?
Yeah, because they're communists. They're a protected species. Anything else any other business to cover off in Germany or Europe in general, or should we kick it over to the United States?
Yeah, we can kick it over to the United States.
Kick it over to
the American listeners.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, I've got a couple of things to do in the States, guys. So I think we'll do the fair thing and we'll kick it both ways. I'm playing a clip in a minute, ads, and we'll be able to fix that mic stand up that you fucked.
No, that's
so fine. That's all right. So let's go this way first. Gio Baricelli, thanks for joining us. Spygate. I spy. This was in the New York Times today, guys. A split from Trump indicates that Flynn is moving to cooperate with Mueller. Lawyers for Michael T. Flynn, President Trump's former national security advisor. Let me just turn that down a touch. There you go. Notified the president's legal team in recent days that they could no longer discuss the special counsel's investigation, according to 4 people involved in the case. An indication that Mr. Flynn is cooperating with prosecutors or negotiating a deal. Now, that sounds very, what would you say, confident. It sounds like a confident assertion by the writer, doesn't it? You just go down 3 more paragraphs.
Standard procedure.
Standard procedure. The notification alone does not prove that Mr. Flynn is cooperating with Mr. Mueller. Some lawyers withdraw from information sharing arrangements as soon as they begin negotiating with prosecutors. Some, I would have thought most, because like you said, it's probably an ethics thing, and such negotiations sometimes fall apart. Still, the notification led Mr. Trump's lawyers to believe that Mr. Flynn, who along with his son is seen as having a significant criminal exposure, has at least begun discussing with Mr. Mueller. Speculation. Exactly. A deal with Mr. Flynn would give Mr. Mueller a behind-the-scenes look at the Trump campaign and the early tumultuous weeks of the administration. That's what they're really wanting, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Now, this is where they lose me. This is where it just goes a step too far. His ties to Russia predated the campaign, okay? He sat with President Vladimir Putin at a 2015 event in Moscow.
Yep.
He did.
Ties to Russia.
And Jill Stein was there as well.
Yeah, well, ties to Russia. It must be the tie that you tie the fucking tablecloth at a gala event to the table with, because like that's just saying that he sat with Vladimir Putin is not a tie to Russia.
Yeah.
That's not good enough from the New York Times. And one more, ads.
Yep.
And he was point person on the transition team for dealing with Russia. That's less than a half truth. He was the point person on the transition team for dealing with every foreign government, because he was the guy who would organise the phone hookups, right? Yeah. So he would call the foreign dignitaries and say, listen, we want to have a talk to you, blah, 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 this time. It wasn't just Russia, but they say, oh, he was the point person for dealing with Russia. Like, you know what I mean? So that's where I kind of get irritated.
So it's a truth, but they're piecing the narrative together in a very devious sense.
But see, my thing is, the reason I get sceptical at this stuff, guys, is if there was more there, you wouldn't have to do it that way.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to frame it like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have to go that far to make it look worse than it is if it's as bad as you're telling me it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Ads, you gave me a theory. Well, we were discussing the Manafort thing yesterday on WhatsApp, and, you know, I want you to maybe expand a little bit. You said, you know, this investigation isn't going away and it's just been sliding. So...
Yeah, well, you know, in the case of Manafort, you know, there was nothing to see here at the start. I mean, Trump campaign came out very hard against any type of, you know, questioning of Manafort's motives of what he was doing in Ukraine or with the Russians or whatnot. And there's been a steady slide. You know, now we've got to a point where Manafort's, you know, basically a gun for hire, a mercenary, which was true all along.
Sure.
But it's the, you know, the denials that made it, you know, that...
From your Roger Stones.
Yeah, from your Roger Stones, from, you know, all those people that raise questions.
The subordinates,
I mean, you know...
The surrogates.
That's it. And, you know, Paul Manafort now is someone that was only with the campaign for a very short amount of time.
About 5 weeks.
About 5 weeks, but it was a crucial time.
Yep.
And he was campaign director, I believe the position is, the official title, or the campaign... The head of the campaign?
He could be, but like I said at the time... and
He was at the time, that's what
whatever his title was, he was there to make sure that they didn't steal the nomination at the convention. That's it. And then he was out straight after that. So.
That's it. So, but he had the role of what Bannon had at the end of the campaign, basically.
Yeah, but different roles. Like maybe same title, but different roles.
Yeah, different roles, but same title, which is, you know, the head of the campaign. So
Sure.
He was basically John Podesta's equivalent, you know, from the other side.
Okay,
Yeah?
that's fair enough.
And... So he did have a big part role. And, you know, there was that famous press conference when Sean Spicer came out and basically tried to, you know, oh, he was a bit part player.
Yep.
And this and that. You know, people that are a little bit more involved, I guess, were keeping tabs on the campaign will be like, that's not necessarily correct. So that's Paul Manafort. Now, Flynn, you know...
Different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Yeah, Flynn's a different kettle of fish. Do you know what? Flynn's different to Manafort for a very simple reason for me, and that's because Flynn knows these rules inside out, particularly when it comes to, you know, disclosing that you've worked as a foreign agent for a different country. Mm-hmm. He knows these rules back to front, upside down. He was a general, yeah?
Yep.
He wasn't, you know, he wasn't just some small-time player. He knows these rules. He knows, you know, he was a director of defense of the DIA.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he knows.
Yep.
And he was being shifty with how he disclosed a lot of these things. You know, when he left the position of the National Security Advisor, I mean, that's when he declared that he had these contacts with Turkey, for example.
Comment
Just
on
then.
Periscope from Giovanni. Flynn knows a ton of crap about Benghazi.
Well, he does, but this, you know, that's, you know, he might know.
I guess the suggestion there is like targeting for that to get him out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, he left, you know, he criticised Obama a great deal when he left.
But you're saying if you leave doors open by not doing the right thing when you're in there, then you potentially leave yourself open to attack.
I mean, it's a rookie error.
Yeah.
And then the question is, was it a rookie error, or did it have some type of, I don't know, deeper motives here?
Well, a common commentary around the Trump campaign, you'll remember ads, and when they first came into the White House was like, you know, they're a skeleton outfit. They don't have like a big team of professional political operatives buzzing around taking care of stuff. Like there's basically kind of 5 or 6 people. It's a ragtag operation, you know, writing on whiteboards and that sort of thing. So, you know, rookie errors, I think, you know, are probably bound to happen in that environment.
Yeah, but Manafort, all right.
Yep.
Flynn, not so much. And, you know, Sessions has come out recently and he said that, you know, the campaign was, you know, chaotic.
Yep.
It was. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Varun, anything to add to this?
No, I was just listening to Adam there. You raised some points. I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, a person like Flynn should not be making rookie mistakes. I mean, you do. You open yourself up to a lot of attack.
Okay.
Yeah.
The comment here is Manafort was publicised by the left. No one's talking about Davis, who was more than an assistant, more than an asset. So that's a theory I've heard be put around. Giovanni as well says Davis is he's the man because he was the guy who was working mostly in Serbia and stuff. He was like the head of the operation, and Manafort was just kind of like a small-time player in that because Davis ran some particular company or something that was doing most of the dealing. So,
yeah, well, I'm sure
something I've heard. Yeah, it'll come out. All right, let's switch it over now. Let's flick over to the other side, and I'm just going to play this short clip from Hannity the other night. Sure. And I found this particularly interesting, guys. So bear with me, and I'll just bring it up. Because now we're going to flip it over. If we're talking Russian collusion, the commentary is, well, if you're going to talk Russian collusion, then you have to talk about the Clintons, right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so there's a lot of like kind of bombshell stuff in here. So I thought let's just give it fair play and see what we make of it at the end.
Why? We knew it was Putin's guys. Why would we ever make that deal?
There are so many lies associated with what the U.S. government did, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Obama administration did. About this Russian criminal scheme before the sale of Uranium One, thanks to John Solomon, Sarah Carter, and the thousands of pages of documents they've uncovered. That is simply untrue. Then they said, well, there's no correlation between the criminal acts and the sale of Uranium One. That is also untrue. And then they kicked dirt on the informant, saying he really doesn't know anything. My goodness, he has more than 5,000 documents. Yeah, and they outed him. You know what this is? This is our government at the worst, complicit in allowing a foreign government to engage in an illegal scheme that jeopardized national security, and then they covered it up, and they've been lying about it ever since. That is the government that is aiding and abetting criminality.
They sold out our security. That's going to be the criminality, or part of the criminality in all this that's going to have to be investigated. Sarah, you know the informant. You've talked to the informant.
Yes.
They outed this guy. This guy spent 6 years of his life. Tell us the backstory. He's accumulating this information, documents, emails, tape recordings, his firsthand experience. He sees what Putin's network is doing, the crimes they're committing. He's passing it on to the FBI director, Eric Holder, the Justice Department, the AG at the time had to know, and we're told it was put in Obama's daily briefing.
That's absolutely correct. Think about this. There's a lot about this informant that hasn't been made public. I know that Victoria Tonsing, his attorney, is asking for permission to make more information public about him. But let's just go back to when he reported this to the FBI. He went voluntarily, Sean, to the FBI to give them this information. And then he was asked by the FBI and the Justice Department to not leave the job with Rosatom, to not leave the job with 10X, but to stay inside and help them build a case to investigate. So he was doing his due diligence, and he believed it was his patriotic duty to give this information to the Justice Department. Yes, he is absolutely 100%. I have spent months and months and months looking at this. And they paid him more than $200,000, Sean. It wasn't just the $51,000 at the end. It was $200,000 in reimbursements, which sources told me would have gone all the way to the top of the FBI. You just don't give that kind of money out.
So knowing that Putin is doing all of this, why would anybody sign off on that? And where did the money come from as we now look at the connection with everybody associated with Uranium One and the timeline and the Clinton Foundation and Bill's speaking fees? Does that timeline coincide with payments?
Yes, if you look at the payments, some of the payments, for example, the speaking fee, the $500,000 that Bill Clinton got from Renaissance Capital, it certainly coincides. And
Didn't Renaissance have a financial interest in this deal?
Absolutely, they had a financial interest in this deal,
and they're
not only
connected to
that,
Putin. Isn't Renaissance connected to Putin?
Exactly, directly to the FSB.
Wow, last word.
The informant's debriefing papers show that an entity close to the Clintons was receiving millions of dollars that went to their charity, and then, of course, later tens of millions of dollars to their foundation and Bill Clinton's wallet. Is it a quid pro quo? Is it corruption? It could be bribery.
If you're Hillary Clinton, are you worried tonight?
Oh, she absolutely should be worried, because as the
four people she hates the most tonight are Sarah Carter, John Solomon, you, and she's always hated me. Just hates me more.
Well, as she has a lot to be worried about, because if she used her public office to confer a benefit to the Russians in exchange for money, that is pretty strong evidence of a myriad of corruption crimes.
Unbelievable. Sarah, when this informant goes before Congress, how soon will it be where the whole story will be told?
I think it'll happen right after he goes to Congress, Sean. I know that they're going to look at whether they're going to do closed-door hearings and open hearings, but I know he's going to be briefing Congress, and that'll probably be behind closed doors at first, and then there'll be public hearings. And I think that's going to be very valuable, very important for everyone. Everyone in our country.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should the Clintons be?
15.
I would definitely say 10 plus.
Wow. All right.
So there you go. A little bit of money. So remember this story about the informant broke, about 3 weeks ago. He was an FBI asset who was deeply embedded in the investigation into Russian, meddling in the uranium market, and there was this kind of deals with trucking companies and stuff, and money laundering scams and stuff. And he had like a gag order put on him, so he couldn't speak publicly about it, couldn't testify to Congress, and that's now been lifted. So, what are we looking at here? Is this a big story or what?
It's a big story, but here's the thing that kind of gets me a little confused. I mean, we've seen the Clintons and we've seen the Democrats push this whole Russia collusion narrative for so long and so hard. Now, obviously, this Uranium One deal scandal, it's pretty fresh in their memory. This is not something that you just forget.
And this guy was working for Mueller at the time.
Wouldn't they think that if they were to bring up Russia as such a big news story, that investigation could flesh out some of their, CD past? I mean, why would they push the Russia story so hard when, they've got so much, they're such a big part of the story?
Well, like one could say, why would you try and attack Donald Trump on sexual improprieties when Bill Clinton's sitting up in the stand watching over you? I think that's almost the audacity of the Clintons, is that
See, that's different, though.
They're going to use a tactic, like they're going to accuse you of what they're going to take their weakness and turn it into their strength by projecting it onto you.
It's just
Do you know what I mean?
But this is different. This is like
of course,
very criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is treason.
If
I mean, allegedly. Allegedly. But I mean, this is very, very criminal.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
well,
projecting sexual proclivities. I mean, that's a whole different, kettle of fish. I mean, they're not going to go to jail for that.
Well, he did settle a couple of court cases, though, didn't he, Bill?
Yeah.
So.
No, I don't think they're going to go to jail.
No,
I mean,
you've been pretty strong on that the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think the Clintons will go to jail.
Is that because of the law, or is that because they're just too powerful?
Yeah. I think they're just a little bit too powerful. An ex-president going.
Are
to
they
jail.
still though now?
Yeah.
If they were still powerful, why would they wind up the Clinton Foundation? Like, what power do they actually have now in Washington?
They're damaged, but they'll be let go. A lot. I mean, look what's happening in Zimbabwe with Robert Mugabe.
Yeah, but he's like 88-year-old going senile military dictator.
I mean,
the circumstances are a little different.
Bill Clinton's gone senile a long time ago, and
I think it's just the coke.
Yeah,
it's the coke.
I think it's Hillary sucked the life out of him.
But that could be true too.
I mean, there's a few things here. I think the big story for me, I look at this a little bit differently, is how how these type of deals with Russia have become the norm. They became the norm quite a bit of time ago, and that the Democrats in general, this is, people ask, Varun was asking, why would they accuse Trump of collusion if they got this, in their closet? And the question is, because they don't see anything wrong with that. Because, doing deals with Russians, Russia was fully integrated, into Washington, and they still are, I guess you could say.
So then the whole Russia thing is a mute concept.
Yeah, in a way, yes. But I think for a lot of people that are concerned about Russia generally, and I might put myself into that bracket, is that's a concern.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, that's a concerning overall overarching problem here is, Democrats, Republicans, Trump, Clinton, whatever.
Who cares?
Who cares? The question here is, how the Russians have been able to infiltrate a little bit into the, American political sphere. They've got clout.
Yeah.
One of the arguments that is talked about by Clinton defenders here is, 8-9 agencies, signed off on this deal. Now, that's a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of people that want to see Clinton in prison, but that is the truth. I mean, it wasn't just Clinton.
Yeah, 17 intelligence agencies signed off on the weapons of mass destruction as well.
Yeah, they did, but, I'm talking about a sale here. And all these agencies have to, look through the lens of national security, and they signed off on
The only problem with that...
20% of the uranium.
The only problem with that is an appeal to authority. And when you look at the people who are on these boards, you're talking about Eric Holder... you're talking about the gang, right?
Yeah.
So that's the issue here. It's not just, you can't just say, this board approved the deal, therefore it's okay. It's like, well, who approved the board members?
I'm just saying that this is,
I know. I'm just putting it out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll take your point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's fucked up.
The whole thing's a shame. The people who approved the deals, or so-called, alleged deal, are the same people investigating Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
It's the classic thing, arsonists turning up as firemen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We start the fire and then we're going to tell you who stopped it.
Backdraft was on the other night. Great.
And then you bring in the dossier into the whole equation.
Yeah.
All this investigation in Trump based on a dossier, it makes it even more ludicrous.
Well,
based on a dossier that they kind of knew all the lies about in the first place.
What was his name? Jeffrey, I don't know, it's the Steele man.
Christopher Steele.
Christopher Steele, that's it, I've already forgotten. Do we want to do a King Cuck nomination / the Shredder?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's go. Well, we'll get the Shredder out first. Because I wound back because I thought, I'm going to go back into the McFlynn, the Flynn thing, and see what they were talking about this time last year. Because I remember Flynn and Sessions were the big targets early on, and I found this good old trusty Vox ads. The Daily Show looks at Michael Flynn, the Trump appointee, who called Islam, quote, cancer. So this is a Shredder / King Cuck nomination. So we'll just fire up the King Cuck music. It's been a while since we've heard it. There you go. Just let that roll on. It's always a pleasure.
It's like a 1930s
Isn't
Robin
it?
Hood movie.
It's very regal.
Yeah.
And then we've got Carl at the end bringing it home. There he is. So, so where is it? He was also one of the people going lock her up, the Daily Show host Trevor Noah said, referencing chance to put Hillary Clinton in prison in part for her alleged mishandling of classified information. Well, that wasn't alleged. That was mishandled. It was admitted. She just didn't get in trouble for it. That was also admitted.
Yeah.
Flynn was reportedly known in the Pentagon for Flynn facts, or as Noah described them, hyperbolic statements that were not grounded in reality. Noah quipped, I wonder what does Trump see in this man?
I mean, is he taking him out for a date?
So this is December 2016, though. So they were gunning for him early on. Flynn said that, quote, fear of Muslims is rational. He claimed that Islam is, quote, like a cancer. He said, quote, we are facing another ism, just like we faced Nazism and fascism and imperialism and communism, Flynn said during an August speech and referred to the politicised form of the religion. Now, this is the King Cuck part. Flynn regularly retweeted fake news reports, adds, conspiracy theories and racists. In one tweet, he wrote, the corrupt democratic machine will do anything and say anything to get Hillary elected, linking to a tweet that said, quote, not anymore, Jews. Oh, you see. Now, someone on the show, Hassan Minhaj, I don't know who he is, never heard of him. He said, quote, the only way that's not racist is if you're a bouncer at a bar mitzvah at full capacity. And he said, quote, but even then, it just feels racist. And I thought we have to put it out there. So there you go. Michael Flynn, target from the get-go. What the things he tweets just feel racist. Ads, there you go.
Well.
Nowhere to go from there.
No, well, you know, it's just, first things first. I mean, if it's racist, I mean, rather anti-Semitic, but, no, I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard.
Here's the thing, but if it's racist, it's racist. Okay.
Yeah, but what if it feels racist for him? Yeah. What if it's not necessarily racist, but it feels racist?
But even if
can we get some leeway there?
Mate, it's just look, if something's racist, it's racist. That's it. You either agree with it or you disagree with it. You know, there's this whole idea of.
I'm sorry. I think that's racist. To say that. Just putting that out there. Do you want to do another shredder before we go? Hit another shredder? Or is there anything else? Is there
have
any?
We got another article?
Have we got
Extra.
Yeah. Do we have anything else that we want to throw on? I've got another one here ready to go. If you want to read it,
mate,
if you want to go
for
through it.
What about
You got
Roy?
something for the extras?
Roy?
Oh yeah, you want to talk about Roy?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hit us up. What do you
Oh,
want?
well,
What do you
why
want
don't you
to
just start it off, and I just need to fix something here. Really.
We've got
Still having
microphone
trouble.
issues. I'll
Roy
fix
Moore.
that up.
Look, Roy Moore.
Yep.
What do we
Save
think?
the day, everyone.
I think he's going to. I have a feeling he'll win.
Oh, isn't he like 10, 20 points in front?
Yeah, but you know, I mean, you read.
Well, that's
you
the
listen
polls,
to the media.
though. Do we believe the polls
Yeah,
now?
absolutely. But you read the media, you think, you know, there's a big chance that he's going to lose a lot of support. But I mean, Doug Jones, massive, you know, support of abortion in the state of Alabama. I just don't see it happening that, you know, he can gain too much ground on
This
him.
is the other thing. We are talking about Alabama. I heard, you know, like the day after these reports came out about Roy Moore, he did a speaking gig and he's getting like a standing ovation.
Oh, well, there you
like
go.
the day after it came out.
And
So
Trump's
I don't know what to
finally
make
said
of
a
that.
few
I don't
words
know
in
what to make
support
of that.
of Roy Moore, hasn't he?
I don't know. I think Trump's played it pretty well.
Yeah,
people are trying to do the smear by association routine now. But Trump, to be fair, I think he's kept a pretty good degree of separation. Number one, he didn't endorse him in the first place, so that's a tick.
Yeah.
Number two, he said, look, you know, he's denied the allegations. So in that regard, unless something changes, then I've got no reason. And that's for me, that's the only way you can really play it. Because if you sack him are we going to do another? Are we going to have these examples? Because what you'll do then is like you'll chum the waters, you'll put blood in the water. Then from that point on, every time someone makes like an accusation, whether it be true or not, they'll be saying, well, you need to sack him as well. Yeah. And then they'll just go through the whole joint and sack everybody one by one. So you can't entice that kind of activity on your own team. That's just politically stupid.
I mean, Damo, firstly, it's setting a precedent. You know, I mean, like you said, you're just going to, you know, ask people to step aside simply because of allegations.
Yeah. Well, look at the Democrats. That comes out about Al Franken.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Conyers, they don't step aside.
Exactly.
They get the papers come out and say, "Oh no, he shouldn't step aside. He's a great guy."
Well,
it's just it's a little fun grope.
Well,
it's not that bad.
I would argue that they're actually shooting themselves in the foot by doing that, because
Could
you know
be.
the people in Alabama are seeing this happen and they're saying, "Well, why the different standards? You know what? I am going to vote for my guy."
Exactly.
You know, there's Al Franken. He's not going through the same pressure.
It's hardening the opposition.
Yeah.
Well, I would say there's a difference between what Al Franken did and what, Roy Moore's accused.
There is, but with Al Franken, there's photographic evidence. With Roy Moore, there's, just words.
Yeah, there is. I agree with that. But I'm just saying that there is a difference between, groping someone on a plane.
Yeah, Mike, that's a terrible.
Like, groping someone on a plane, just
look. Absolutely. If undeniable proof came out that Roy Moore was,
and
engaged
there
in
never
some
will be. Well, what? How can the proof be undeniable?
Well,
it happened 30 years
well,
ago.
to be fair, like the only proof that we've seen so far is this yearbook thing where apparently Roy is spelt Ray, and it's in two different colours and different handwriting, and
Allred doesn't want to go into it unless it's brought before the Senate committee.
Maybe that's a clip.
What about Roy Moore's assertion that he doesn't even know these women? He never met these women.
Well, I don't know. There were apparently mothers coming out saying Roy tried to court my daughter and he was a complete gentleman and he had my blessing.
Yeah, that was one of the mothers.
So it's
one of the victims did not want to talk, and it was I think was it the Washington Post that broke the story, and they pretty much almost forced the story out of her.
Yes, yeah, they put a name out there as well. And she said that she didn't want to go to court. She didn't want to press charges.
Yeah.
So, obviously in cases like this, and when it's so public, I guess there's an argument to be made that, I don't want to go to court. I don't want the hoopla. I don't want the,
in a way, I respect that.
Me. Yeah. But then there's also the argument we've got to. It's if everything's on the table, lads. Yeah, like right. Who doesn't want to go to court? People with losing cases. So
yeah.
Just being fair, playing it both ways, it could be either one of those. It could be neither as well.
Well, you hear a lot in the media that women don't come forward because career opportunities could be ruined if they go with sexual assault cases and all that. I mean, what were the career opportunities of these young ladies? And that's not to minimise the situation. Let me just say that from the outset.
Sure.
But what were the career opportunities that they were scared that coming out with these allegations was going to ruin their future? I mean, I don't know. Legitimate question. Does anyone know?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Secondly, I mean, I'm 38 years old now. As far back as I could remember, I've never seen in Western countries, that women come out with rape allegations and everyone just dismisses it. I haven't seen that as a systemic, entrenched in our system.
Okay.
So I mean, there are a couple of things that, really put some question marks in the whole allegation thing. But my thing is, when Roy Moore spoke to Hannity and Hannity was kind of drilling these questions into him, I think Hannity wavered it. Not Hannity, sorry.
Yeah,
Roy
you
Moore,
did say that the other day. Like you weren't really happy with his. I think a lot of people said that.
It wasn't very convincing.
These are serious allegations, and I mean, he's trying to go the fake news road.
Yeah,
and I think that
he's not going to play.
He should have come out first and just denied it, and
which he did,
taken it seriously instead
he could have
of
been
just
stronger.
Yeah.
His denial was very weak. His denial was, I do not remember. No, I mean, you would remember if you did something like that. He should have come out straight out and said, these are lies. I did not do it.
Okay.
Bang. Straight out.
Can I just play a little couple of minutes here of the lawyer, Gloria Allred?
Yeah.
This is a takedown of epic proportions.
At this point, I have no reason to believe that what he wrote in the yearbook is anything but his signature.
Does your client, Beverly Young Nelson, remember him signing it?
She remembers being with him. It was on the counter. She alleges that he took it, that he signed it, and she was thrilled that he had signed it because, as far as she knew, he was a DA, and that was an important position.
So she saw him sign it.
I don't think at the time she had a clue whether he was an assistant DA or a DA, but he signed it, she took it, as far as she knows, I mean, there's no reason for her to think it's anything but his signature.
But did she see him sign it?
You know, I haven't asked her if she saw him, but we did describe what happened that evening in question. That what she alleges was that
I
she
asked her
put it on the
everything
counter,
except whether she actually saw it.
That
or
I
not.
think that
Come
he
on.
asked to sign, or that he did sign it. That's all.
I ask this because it seems like you're not 100% sure that it is his signature. And if you're not 100% sure that it is his signature, why would you show it at a press conference?
Well, why does anybody doubt that it is his signature?
Well,
that's not a
Moore's
good answer.
campaign is saying, and Roy Moore himself
That's
is
not a
saying
good
it's not his
answer.
signature.
Well, he has a motive to say that, and let him prove that it's not. We have offered to provide it to an independent expert at the hearing,
Which
would
he
be
still
held
hasn't done,
in
as far as I know.
Washington, and
'Cause Roy's like, okay,
and
give it up.
We have allowed it
okay.
to be examined.
He was
So-
he was going on Twitter every day, like day 8 of her
I
not
have
giving it
no
up to a third
reason-
party.
They have not provided me any evidence to suggest that it is not his signature.
That's not
All
what happens.
they've done
She
is
knows
make
that.
this
She
bold
does.
assertion
Well,
that
she's made
it's
a career
not,
out of
but they have
doing
not
this.
Doing
provided
this
any
routine, this
evidence
shtick.
whatsoever. To
You remember
asser-
she had one
to,
of the Trump
support their
ladies
assertion.
with the
Of
tears
course
in the
they
press
have a-
conference, and that just disappeared, didn't it?
to make that assertion because he is denying. First, he denied even knowing her. Then he
Comment on
he
Periscope. Oh, let him
compounded that,
prove his innocence.
or
Typical left-wing
confused that whole
politics.
issue by saying something to the effect that, oh, well, she appeared before him in a divorce case, and apparently that does not appear to be accurate either.
When you
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, one of the comments on Periscope that I just saw from tomorrow that the burden of proof is on her, not him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where it ends.
Yeah, you
And
can't prove a negative.
When she said that, well, why doesn't anyone believe that it isn't? Why does everyone believe that it isn't his signature?
Yeah, it's like saying
There's your answer.
I
The burden
believe
of proof is on her, not him.
Yeah, it's like saying I believe the moon is made out of cheese, and then you come up to me and say, can you prove that it's made out of cheese? And I go, well, can you prove that it's not? Look, that's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even think she's a lawyer, to be really honest. Well, she's more like a PR whipper-upper. That's been her role in past campaigns.
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the payout at the end. But, I mean, there's a lot of, I would say, okay, that, someone is accused of something and the denial comes.
Yes.
And we can look, that a lot of allegations been flying around that
Sure.
have been denied.
Yes.
By a lot of people. And, Trump has, really engaged in this type of stuff as well, on Twitter. And in a lot of, in the campaign, he throws allegations around like there's no tomorrow. And the denials are forthcoming. And he leaves it there. So, I mean, out of all these things now that suddenly he's concerned about a denial, sometimes this time a denial is credible after all the times that denials aren't credible. So I think he has to be careful.
Well, like you said before, it's a little bit different, the two situations from Al Franken to Roy Moore.
It
I
is.
would suggest it's a little bit different from Roy Moore to, say, Bill Clinton.
Well,
and-
yes, it is.
So, that goes both ways as well.
It does, yeah.
Someone said before that Moore's run 8 times, and these allegations have never come up before.
Yep.
And
And
it's
let's
only
not
just
forget
happens
that
to
they-
be 2 weeks before like a big election in
Absolutely.
Alabama, Varun,
Yep.
and it happens to be the first cab off the rank of the the quote unquote Bannonite Gawker
the Trump movement
candidates. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would be a huge takedown.
Yeah.
It'd be a
Yeah,
massive
no,
takedown.
well,
And
I
let's not
think it's a
forget-
small takedown. I
Or
think,
and the GOP establishment want him gone as well. They don't want Roy Moore
Yeah,
in there
no.
either.
Oh, absolutely, because
Anytime you've got the crew like Mitch McConnell and everyone against their own people, McCain, you've got a problem. I mean, not a problem. You know that you're on the right
Well,
track.
it
pretty
seems
much.
to me the only time we get bipartisan support is when politicians are trying to keep other politicians out of the system.
No, well, the Republican Party has always had, a consistent zero tolerance thing when it comes to, I guess...
Moral standards,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, molesting children. So, I mean, these...
I think not just Republicans, but most people in general.
No, but,
suggest-
that on these moral questions, I mean, the Republican Party has been very quick to dispense of, politicians within the party that have had allegations thrown against them, so this is why, people within the Republican Party and the establishment feel uneasy about this.
Sure.
Let's remember, what a win the whole Clinton situation has been for the establishment of the Republican Party and the anti-establishment.
Yep.
It was a huge win. And a lot of Republicans see this as, let's not fuck that up. And this is where I
think a lot of Republicans see more as a threat because they don't want to encourage more people replacing them, because they might lose their jobs next.
Yeah, well, maybe that's not so much them, but more me. The the right in general in the United States has had some type of credibility or authority that they've gained from what happened with the Clinton administration with Lewinsky and all the rape allegations.
Yeah, but fat lot of fucking good it's done them over the last 40 years, though.
No, it hasn't done them, but, they can't turn the other way when these type of allegations are coming out. And I think these allegations are credible enough, and he's been a little bit weird with his denials. I'll just boot him, because Roy Moore, in the grand scheme of things, is just a little pawn that, he's not, don't martyr yourself for Roy Moore. I mean, that's.
You're saying he's not the hill to die on?
Absolutely not.
Varun, what do you think? Would you throw him under the bus, or would you stick tight?
I kind of disagree with that. Yeah. I think Roy Moore's. Look, they've been coming after Roy Moore for a long time when he was a judge. These things would have come out back then.
I think because of the Bannon thing, there's big symbolism here. Like there's a bigger. It's not just Roy Moore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bigger thing here, but sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, this is pretty much taking out Roy Moore is trying to put a massive dent in the movement. That's what the Democrats are doing.
No, Roy Moore's a stepping stone to Trump. That's what it is. That's the big boy here. They don't, Roy Moore would come in. He would,
back the Trump agenda.
Yeah. He's going to say controversial things here and there, and but he's not a big deal. He's not a big deal, and that's why I think, Trump should just say, listen, let's dispense of... But the problem here is Bannon, like you were saying.
Oh, and the problem is if you dispense with him, then who gets replaced? That's when Mitch McConnell comes in, and because he picks.
Yeah, but and he will... Then whoever Mitch McConnell picks, you might as well have Doug Jones in there then.
Yeah. Well, because it'll be the same party.
Yeah.
The Uniparty. Yep, interesting stuff.
I mean, just a general comment. Is it that fucking hard to find someone...
who isn't a rapist? Apparently.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, you just sexual allegation after sexual allegation. I can't even keep up with them.
You just can't come out flat out and just look down the camera and just say, listen, this is not fucking true.
Is there a danger of overload here with accusations, allegations, and a constant battering? Is there a danger of overload in terms of public perception where people are just going to switch off and say, you know what, I don't believe any of it.
Yeah, well, people are going to get sick of it. I mean, we've seen sexual allegations in the not just with politicians and, the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, but before we had so many allegations of rape, when we were talking about campus rape culture and how much of that turned out to be
absolute
untrue.
Lies.
Yeah, absolute
all
lies.
The hoax, hate crimes.
Hate crimes, and so this is now spilt over into, the world of politics, into Hollywood. And it's just the overload, and people are finally going to get sick of it and go, you know what? I don't care about all that. Yep. Who's just going to offer me who's going to offer the best policies that affect me?
Well, and I don't want to sound callous or crude, but this is reality. That is it's reality. Not as if women haven't in the past used.
They've weaponized it.
Fake allegations, to take men down. I mean, let's not fucking kid ourselves here. I think it wasn't Hillary Clinton that said all women, when they make such an allegation, have to be believed.
Yeah. Yeah, right? She did say that.
Except when they're Juanita Broderick, then they don't get that kind of treatment. So,
in a way, this takes us back to the 1990s, to the defense of what the Democrats were doing to defend Bill Clinton.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that he's
your man Jonah Goldberg, good little podcast that you shared there.
Yeah, he's a man in power, and he's just getting attacked, and all these allegations, and they're all whores.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. I mean, obviously they're trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, and this is where you got to tread, carefully.
Sure.
Yeah, but no one's actually calling these victims.
No,
Victims.
I'm definitely not victim shaming.
Yeah,
you know?
no one's doing that.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just talking in a big picture political strategy sense.
Yeah.
You know, that this is where, you know, you can't get outflanked.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that, you know, Roy Moore's sure he's burst onto the scene. I mean, a lot of people in the Trump world have a connection with Roy Moore. I mean, not really. I think, you know, he's, I guess, replaceable.
My theory
to be
was,
very, you know, upfront.
If I can attack this, can I attack this at like a metagame level and give you the Democrat opportunity to corner the Republicans here? It's because they've built up a little bit of cred lately with some good reporting on, say, Uranium One, the Hollywood sex scandals. Okay, so and you know you now have a situation where you've got conservative Republicans are now citing like the Times again and the Hill again. Okay, so they've built up just that little. They've got their little foot just back in the door a little bit.
The threshold.
So if you now turn around and like victim blame or whatever, if you go all in on Roy Moore, this is what I'm saying. If you go all in on Roy Moore and it turns out that it's true, then you're cornered completely because they absolutely have you like on a block at that point. So what you're saying is true. You've got to hang on to that credibility that you've gained of late. And at the same time, you've still got to be cautious, though, because, I mean, this is what politics is. It's dirty tricks and stuff. So, you know, but to go all in and say, oh, they're just lying, they're just making it up, it's all false, that you can do what you want. I don't care. But there is a trap there.
There is. I mean,
false.
this
lady, for the politicians. I'm not talking about us. I'm not talking about normal people. I'm talking about the game players.
Well, that's why I think what Trump's comments were just perfect. I reckon they were spot on. I mean, there was support for him, but also not going all in.
Yeah,
because,
and that's good
enough.
enough.
It was their word against his. Look, if these allegations come true, then we'll look at it then.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, she could appear on TV on a 60 Minutes or something like that, and she could be quite believable.
Yeah.
And then,
what's her name? Oh, what's the old girl that does all these interviews? The famous one on 60 Minutes.
Barbara Waters.
Yeah. What's her name? Barbara Waters.
She's still alive.
Is she? I don't know. She should be. She should be.
She'll outlive us all.
Yeah, she's probably getting a baby blood transfusion right now. So, anything else do we want to wrap up on Roy Moore or? No, is that it? We had enough.
That's it.
That's it. It's a good show. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We had fun. There was another little article there, but I think I'll save it till next time.
You sure?
Yeah, all right. I'll just throw it up. But it's not really got much to do with anything. I'll just start the shredder up. The EU rules British cities cannot be capitals of culture ads. I don't know if you saw this. This in the Garden. Decision dashes hopes of cities such as Dundee and Leeds, which were preparing bids costing hundreds of thousands of pounds. The EU will not allow any British city to become, quote, the European capital of culture in 2023.
Well, Leeds, the capital of culture.
I don't
know about that.
Do you know what Scots call Dundee? Literally, they call Dundee the toilet of Britain, right? People who live in Dundee call it the toilet of Britain. Hundreds of thousands of taxpayer pounds were going to be spent to make fucking Leeds in the capital of European culture in 2023. God help us all. Right? So, anyway, I thought that was a bit of fun to end the show.
Well, I could go on.
You could go on. You could go on, but we probably
When I think of Leeds, I just think of Jonathan Woodgate and Lee Boyer walking into court accused of rape.
Yes.
First time they wore a suit was a day they went to court. That's a little football.
The Leeds boys. Voice of Reason, Adam J. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the microphone stand trouble. We'll have that fixed up for you next time.
That's going to be my favourite position now.
You look good like that.
Oh, thanks.
You look kind of suave, relaxed but tense at the same time.
I love it.
Yep. You can follow the Voice of Reason, Adam J, on Twitter at Ted Dabrowski.
Yeah.
And on Periscope as well. Do more Periscopes with your little monkey man there, because you're always good. Always good chatter. And he enjoys trolling, so do jump in. Sexual Chocolate for Prasad. Can't get him on the Periscope solo at this point, but I am working on it, chipping away. In the meantime, we can follow you on Twitter and Gab, the Pragmatist, Pragmagical, one or the other.
At Pragmagical on Twitter. That's with a C and a K, and the Pragmatist on Gab, which I don't really visit as much.
No,
it's just not as much fun when you haven't got much opposition.
Yeah, because you want to feed the hounds, don't you? You want to feed the wolves. And I'm Damien White at Boogie Bumper, and you already know that because you're here. So that was easy.
That's it.
That was very easy to do. So, gentlemen, till next time.
Time
been
for
an
a beer.
absolute pleasure. Time for a beer. And guys on the Periscope, thanks so much for watching and sharing your comments. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you all soon.
Yep. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
And we saw the polling industry doing everything they could to demoralize our campaign.
Came, we saw, he died.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Go home to mommy. Bye.